Minister for Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Today I am joined by MPP Kristen Wong-Tam, the MPP for Toronto Centre and Shadow Minister and Attorney General. Also, we are joined by Immigration Attorney Elizabeth Long of LM Law Group. We are here today because of the impact of Doug Ford's job disaster that is broad-reaching and is causing great suffering to many. Today we are actually standing by those skilled workers who came from all around the world seeking to share their gifts with our province. These are the applicants of the Ontario Immigration Nominee Program who are desperately seeking answers about their applications. The OINP program allows the province to nominate individuals for Canadian permanent residency based on their skills and the needs of the Ontario labour market. And now, for many, many years, this program has been broken, plagued by delays, needless red tape, weak enforcement, and applicants are left in limbo for months and for years, and the consequences for Ontario's economy, for these workers' lives, well, these consequences are devastating. Just last week, Ravi wrote to me, and he said, years of loneliness, years of missing home, years of constant, deliberate, hard work, juggling studies and shifts and sleepless nights, all in hope of a bright future. But when the time finally came for a peace, they just walked away. They left us with nothing. Was it all worth it? To Ravi and all those left in limbo by this government on the OINP, let me say that this government has treated you cruelly and without compassion. It was Ontario that wooed you because we needed your skills. It was the Ford government that invited you to apply because your point score was so high. And then they asked you to pay $1,500 of your own money, and they told you that the average wait time was 150 days. And then something shifted, and it all broke. And now thousands of you have been waiting well beyond that. 484 days, 553 days with no transparency. Your work permits have run out. Your employers are now left without your skills because you can't work without that permit. You're left without health insurance, and yet you are still holding out hope because this government said they needed you and wanted you, and all you had to do was apply and wait, and you just might have permanent residency. The Labour Minister, Mr. Piccini, has a lot to answer for. As the official opposition NDP, we stand with you, demanding transparency. Minister Piccini, end this abuse. Give the OINP applicants an answer, no or yes. Give them a timeline, and for God's sakes, extend the work permit until that answer comes so that these skilled individuals can feed themselves and their families while they wait for the minister who appears more preoccupied with trips to Paris than the suffering of workers in Ontario and the needs of Ontario's employers. Manitoba was successful in asking the federal government to extend the work permits. Ontario can do the same. The OINP has the potential to bring in skilled workers that our province desperately needs, but under Doug Ford, it has become slow, unfair, vulnerable to abuse. Mr. Piccini, Mr. Ford, you have a lot to answer for, and we are waiting. I'd now like to introduce Elizabeth Long of LM Law Group, who knows firsthand the challenges her clients are facing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You know, when someone applies for permanent residence under our immigration system, they face many, many hurdles. And amongst them are the constant changes that happen in the government for both the federal government and the Ontario government. In Canada right now, we have over 1.5 million workers who are on work permits, and yet only a fraction of them will be able to get permanent residence. When an applicant gets that golden ticket, that invitation to apply for provincial nomination, it's a lifeline. it's the light at the end of the tunnel. And when they are told that their application is on hold, not for a few weeks, not even for a few months, but almost a year afterwards with no answer. And at the same time, their work permits are about to expire or have expired. And when their work permits are expired, they are told that they would no longer qualify to apply under the OINP for the permanent residence. It can be devastating. In fact, the Ontario government recently this year passed legislation to also refuse people their applications for no better reason than they just decided that they were no longer a priority. If someone is facing that situation, it's kind of like someone going to a soup kitchen who is starving, getting to the end of the line and being told by the person who is handing out the food that, sorry, we no longer like you as much anymore. You're going to have to stand aside and we're going to give food to those people who just came into the line because we like them more. This is not humane. And this is not right. The Ontario government has seen challenges because the Provincial Nominee Program has been, the numbers have been cut by half, we've been told, by the federal government. Yesterday, the federal minister did state that the provincial nomination numbers will go up. And we think that this is a good news, and we hope that the provincial government now has more flexibility to provide answers and decisions for those people who have applied and who qualify. But it's not enough just to do so while the numbers are up. The federal program with the government, their negotiations can go up and down. But people who have applied need to have their applications processed in a timely manner. They structure their lives around it. The employers structure their business around this. And it's very important that the government provides solutions. Here are two solutions. One, if people's work permits are about to expire, have their applications processed on an urgent basis. We have seen this done by other provinces. Another solution, the federal government has given the provincial governments the power to issue support letters, even if they don't have provincial nominations, but to issue support letters to those who they want to get their work permits extended because they are in the process of applying for the provincial nominations. So the Ontario government does have tools to help workers stay in business, for employers to stay in business and for workers to stay working and being in Canada, being in Ontario with their families. We are a province that should not leave people behind, especially those who have dedicated their lives, who love this province, who have said, we want to stay here, who have built their lives here. Please, Ontario, please don't leave these workers behind.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, for your remarks, and thank you, MPP Gilmore, for opening up the press conference. My name is Kristen Wong-Tam, and I'm the Shadow Attorney General for the official opposition. Newcomers make Ontario a beautiful and vibrant place, a place that we all love. I myself came to Canada with my family from Hong Kong when I was just 4 years old. Canada has always had economic immigrant programs. My parents worked in hotels and factories, and they put food on the table, and they struggled as many newcomers do. So it's only right when governments streamline the programs, they set up rules that everyone should have clear understanding of, and they ask them to orderly submit their application, and then they will in fast time review and then approve. This is why we have these programs such as the OINP. And Ontario needs skilled workers. We hear a lot about that in the news. Ontario also needs to recognize that the skilled workers are coming through the door in a legal fashion. They've submitted the applications as they've been invited to do so. And then for some odd reason, their applications are languishing. And everyone is stuck in the queue, including the employers who are so desperate for this highly skilled labor. My family didn't have to do any of that because it was a different system. But now the system is here and it should be working. The OINP is a program for newcomers who have the highest skills that we demand in our province. We want to set our province forward so we are competitive, and we have heard from employers and municipalities in the north as well as rural communities who are looking for these skilled workers. And they've come to Queen's Park and they've spoken to MPPs and the ministers saying, please fix this program. The OINP's approval process is so backed up that it leaves so many families now behind. I'm going to share the story about my constituent. I will use his name. I will give you a name of Vincent. It's a pseudonym. And Vincent wants to protect his identity because, like many newcomers, they sit in a state of vulnerability. And so it's very hard for them to speak up because they fear repercussions, but at the same time, they have no choice. So I'm bringing Vincent's story to you. Vincent applied to the OINP program over a year ago and has not heard back. It has literally destroyed his life. And he can't share his story, which is why I'm doing it here. On his behalf, on Vincent's behalf, I've written letters to the Minister of Labour of Ontario. I've reached out to the federal immigration minister, and those letters went unanswered. Vincent's requests for inquiry went unanswered, and there are many, many Vincents. Vincent's story. My name is Vincent. I've worked in Ontario for years as a construction superintendent. My work has helped build homes, condominiums, and communities, helping families build their futures. I submitted my OINP application in October 2024 with every single document required of me. I paid $2,000 as a support fee to process the application, and because of these long delays, my work permit has expired and I've lost my job. I have a young son who was born in Ontario. Today, my family is living without income and even without access to Ontario health care. If the OINP process is delayed, then workers like myself, like Vincent, like all the workers, should at least be allowed to extend their work permits. No one should lose their livelihood or their health care because of administrative backlog or government incompetence. OINP says these delays are due to federal allocations. But if that's true, then why are new invitations still being sent out while thousands from 2023 and 2024 applications remain untouched, unprocessed? Over 8,000 files are still pending, while more than 10,000 new applicants were invited in 2025. Each of them paying about $1,500 to $2,000 in processing fees. Behind every single file number is a real person, a real Vincent, a real family, a real story. Skilled workers like Vincent are helping solve Ontario's housing crisis. They want a chance to contribute to Ontario and a place that they now proudly call home. I want to thank Vincent for sharing his very powerful and heartbreaking story. I want to thank him for pushing all of us to respond to what is a massive injustice. We need to act to ensure stability for Ontario's economy and also to ensure that Ontario workers are treated fairly. They want to work here in Ontario. We have the need for their skilled work. They want to raise their families. We want them to stay. They want to contribute to their communities. We want them to contribute to the building up of Ontario. We call on Mr. Ford, Mr. Piccini to do their job. Stop pointing fingers at the federal government, which they do far too often, because the solutions are right in front of them. They simply have to act. Thank you.
Let's see this question.